share my screen.
We're going to record now.
Yes, yes. So the next, great. Yes, so we'll record for those peer leaders who couldn't be with us tonight. So just to refresh your memory, YouthAstroNet is not only a program, it's a research project. And so NSF has funded us to be able to scale up this program and get lots more educators and students using our telescopes through YouthAstroNet. But at the same time, they want us to gather data about what works about this program and what works, what keeps it going as we scale up and get more and more teachers and students doing it, and what works for the broadest group of student participants. So you'll remember that we, so this research question 1, you've already kind of helped us with. Does the refocused version, YouthAstroNet 2.0, with our essential elements and core principles, produce equal or better results than the original project? And we haven't got the answer to that question, but we have the data to look at that question. But the next phase, the next 2 research questions are kind of answered by the newcomer educators. But the research question 4 is the one that you guys are really going to help with as we scale up in this next phase of the project. And that's under which conditions of professional development support, and this is phrased for an NSF proposal, so education is the intervention, is YouthAstroNet most successful in producing gains in STEM interest, identity, and career interest, especially for female and students from underrepresented groups. So what do we mean by professional development conditions? The issue here is that for any program to scale up, we have an ideal program in that we can have millions of kids using our telescopes, but we can't provide professional development to the educators of millions of kids. Right? That's asking a lot. So we have up until now, we have been doing a professional development modeled on this first line. Project team members, me, Erica, Frank, others on our team, Adrian, have led a training that includes both live and asynchronous parts. You all participated in it. And we've coached educators implementing the project. So as we scale up, we're trying different models to see what works with new educators and what produces good results. And, it's a hypothesis. Any of these could work well. So the second line is the idea of, rather than having Center for Astrophysics team members lead the training, to have experienced educators lead the training for newcomers, doing something pretty similar to what we do in terms of running several live Zoom sessions and then supporting educators on the portal, and then answering questions on the portal as educators start to implement. The second 2, the last 2 lines that start with Portal C and Portal D, we'll talk about portals in just a minute, are another model for scaling up that we also hope will work, but that we think that your participation can ensure that it works. And that is, we, instead of having Zoom sessions like this with educators and showing them how YouthAstroNet works and doing tutorials, we're currently curating a bunch of short videos that take the place of those live Zoom sessions and that become a self-paced training that educators could do. But we think it's valuable for them to be able to ask on the portal questions of experienced educators like yourselves as they're taking that self-paced training. And so that middle element of your participation we're calling coaching, which is activity on the portal, as opposed to training, which is leading the effort to really introduce them to YouthAstroNet. Does that make sense? So this column is about how do teachers first learn about YouthAstroNet, and in the first two lines, somebody shows them it, either us or you. And in the second two lines, they get a little self-enrollment key. They pop on the Moodle, they watch a bunch of videos, they figure it out themselves. But hopefully, they also have access to experienced educators on the Moodle. And that's where I also sent out to you when I sent the doodle for this time, a form for you to indicate your availability over the next year for coaching. And we're going to kind of talk about how that works, but let me just put that URL in the chat because I don't know that everyone in this group filled out that form. And I'm putting it here to talk about that. So one of the ways we're organizing these 4 conditions of professional development and learning, and to see what teachers need, what do they need to be able to be successful, and what elements of each of these, because you can imagine that some elements of self-paced online training would work really well for teachers, whereas being directly led through it might work well for other teachers. And we can tease that out by this this research model that you see here. But in order to implement it, what we've had to do is Erica has created 4 educator portals so that we can keep separate so that we can, gather data separately of teachers who are learning about YouthAstroNet from us, Portal A, teachers who are learning about YouthAstroNet from you, Portal B, teachers who are learning about YouthAstroNet on their own, Portal C and D. And the difference between Portal C and D is one of the questions, research questions, inside this research question 4 is, what's the value of having access to live STEM mentors? And so in Educator Portal C, not only will you guys be available to coach, but there'll be a scientist from the CFA or somewhere else to ask questions of as educators go along, and for students to ask questions of during implementation. Okay. That's kind of my introduction to where we're going. And Erica is going to clarify all of this in the next part of this session. But your upcoming role over the next year, and again, this is a 5-year project. There'll be 2 more years probably after that, after this year, is to support training and coaching. And remember, training is when you lead somebody through what YouthAstroNet is through Zoom sessions like this one, and then they also do some asynchronous work on the Moodle. And coaching is supporting people on the Moodle, but not leading a training, relying on the self. Does that make sense, the distinction between training and coaching? And so you've started and essentially what we're hoping, and what that Google form that I put in the chat asks around your availability, is that for at least once over the next year, potentially pairs of you don't have to do the training alone. We might, if two of you are available the same month, we might try to help you mutually convene a training. So there's a little bit of logistics in doing that we'll take on. But so you $500 for leading an introductory training for a group of educators. So we're having educators sign up over the next few months. A bunch of them will plop into the self-paced training bucket, but a bunch of them will say, oh, our next upcoming training is being led by Raquel and David in January, or whatever, I mean, what is, so, and then $500 for completing a month of peer coaching. And by a month, we kind of mean, what were we saying, Erica? We had like 2 to 4 hours a week.
Yeah.
You might expect to be doing that for a month period or something like that. So, and again, that is a little more flexible on your time because you can access the Moodle and interact with people as you're available. So, some of you may find you're really gung-ho about this. We do have the potential, if you depending on how we're scheduling, to do a second training or a second month of peer coaching, and we can help facilitate that as well. But this is kind of the basic backbone of what we're hoping you guys will help us with. And Erica, I wondered if you want to take over, and if you want me to drive, or if you want to share a screen.
I'll take over and screen sharing. And
yeah.
I also want to point out, part of the reason we ask on that form for what you feel most confident and comfortable about is so that we can also pair you, some of you are feeling really confident about astronomy, being our astronomy experts on the team. Others are, with how to support educators or actually YouthAstroNet curriculum. And so we'll try and pair you that way as well, kind of so that we have two different expertise at the same time, because you all have your own unique view on YouthAstroNet and expertise that you bring to the table. So that's part of what we put that on that form.
Form, yeah, right. Asks what you're confident in.
So that'll help us there.
Okay.
All right. Well, I will share now over here. All right. So, as Mary mentioned, we've got two kind of things going on: coaching and training. I'm going to go over coaching first because that's what we're going to ask you to do first. That's kind of what's up first on our scale up. And coaching in Portals, the C&D will look pretty similar, with the caveat that Portal D won't have STEM mentors, which means there won't be the extra STEM mentors to answer content questions. You also have to think about, as you're coaching, that's not something you can suggest as an opportunity to those educators. They won't have access. Their students won't have access to the forum where they can ask questions, but they will still have access to the static materials about STEM mentors. So you can point them to the STEM mentor profiles, which I'm hopefully going to have more of soon, and recordings of interviews and things like that. But that's just one thing to keep in mind. The coaching will look nearly identical, other than keeping that really critical part in mind. So what does it actually mean? When you get on it for Portal C&D, it's introducing yourselves to the community as a peer leader, as an expert peer educator who has facilitated this once or many times, as the case may be for you all, and highlighting what you've learned, what works in your setting, maybe the type of setting you're in, It means monitoring and responding to their questions on the forum for that month. So maybe, saying welcome when they introduce themselves in the Introduce Yourselves forum. It's looking at the images they share and highlighting, pointing out what you see in those images, helping them to make sense of those images, keeping track of questions that they post in the various other forums. And they're going to have to, part of their capstone project as educators is sharing their implementation plans. The same way that we had everybody this year kind of highlight what questions their students are going to, seek to answer, how, a very general outline of the curriculum of their plans. These are not, we're not asking educators to spend hours on their implementation plans. This is a general outline. And so we would hope that you would comment on those, point out things that you really like, provide suggestions if there's something, an activity they say they're going to do, one that you as an expert educator knows goes really well with that kind of thing. And there's an opportunity to comment, and we can show a little bit in the portal in a minute. And then let us know if there's any issues going on. If they're coming up with issues, sharing that back with the team. And that means me, Mary, Adrian, Frank, emailing all of us. And if you email us all together, whoever's most available, we'll get back to you quickly as we scale up. Adrian's really going to be paying attention. So, but if you want to email all of us that way, whoever's available first can get back to you. The other thing that will make everybody's lives easier, which was unfortunately not the case for all of you, but hopefully you all be very excited about, is our surveys are now directly embedded in the Moodle portal. And so your job is to encourage, but you don't actually have to tell them, go do this, and prevent them, because educators won't get access to all the resources in the Moodle until they take their pre-survey. They will not be able to sign students up. They won't be able to upload their spreadsheets until they take their post-survey. When their students log on to the portal, their students won't have access to the portal until they take the pre-survey. And we are working on potentially having a certificate be produced after students take the post-survey. But we still would love your encouragement of kind of highlighting to educators what we're learning through YouthAstroNet, what we hope to continue to learn from their participation in the surveys. So kind of general encouragement, but you don't have to. Oh, go ahead, Mary.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, because we know, and it happens all the time, that, educators have a lot going on, and you're trying to get through a particular unit, and somebody else's post test is not as important to you as you getting through your unit. And so, but the reason NSF funded us to give people access to this is to collect data that helps the wider science education community understand the effectiveness and in what ways programs like this are effective.
And it keeps me employed.
Yeah. And Sue is our research coordinator. Has plenty to do that way.
All right. So we've created some resources and guides to help with this. Your personal experience is the #1 resource for coaching, though. You know what's worked in your settings. You have expertise to share. You all know so much more about actually implementing this and what people need to pay attention to. And so providing that feedback and encouragement is the #1 resource. But that's not the only thing we're doing. We've created a folder of resources for you as peer leaders, some of which are for trainings, the live training part, but there's also a resource for coaching that are all available to you. So I'll point out that all of our interactions with you are in this peer leader trainings. So if you want to remember what's in these slides, those are there. One guide that I've created, and if you need additional support, like, let me know. There's extra things. Is just a quick peer coaching guideline. So kind of when it's the start of your month, what do you need to be doing? And so we've got kind of the outline of how introducing yourselves and the reminder of what would be great to have you include. So who you are, where you're from, and because we do have in our peer leader expertise and in our new educator expertise, have classroom, after school, informal, formal, all sorts of different types of educators, highlighting where you're from and what that looks like, sharing a little bit about your expertise and or your favorite components of YouthAstroNet, and then that reminder. So that's kind of that start of your month of peer coaching. And then we've got some guides on where to look for what you might need to be paying attention to, including kind of what are those forms you want to be checking. And so this is just kind of a quick guide to help you at the start of your month. And we'll be building out these tips too, as well, of kind of sharing your own processed images, things that, so kind of modeling for our educators, what they might want to be looking for. So posting your own image. Hey, I just processed this image of X nebula. I love how you can see, you know, the clouds of dust and gas glowing in red and highlighting the things, or, you know, it could be an artistic component, and this is why I do that, and sharing that expertise by modeling for our educators. So this is one of the resources available to you. There will also be STEM mentors assigned to the same shifts. Well, they'll be kind of on shorter shifts, but there'll be STEM mentors available at the same time. So if there's content questions that you're not sure of, they'll also be monitoring the portals in C, remember, not in D, to help support that experience. And then lots of recordings that are available to you. You can check back in on, oh, what was that like? All of our recordings are still in the Moodle for you, as well as some in this folder. Miriam, I'm forgetting a resource, anything?
Just when I say astronomy in the news, it's, you know, if you know the super moon is tonight and it's a good time to take an image of the moon, or things like that. That's always a nice prompt for educators to and then the other thing on this slide that Erica's showing about live office hour sessions. So live office hour sessions, did we just decide, is only in condition B?
Yes.
For portal B, where it's for educators who've experienced a peer leader led training. They also get access to live office hours.
All right. So that's what peer coaching looks like. And that's what we're kind of asking for first, and what we're going to be launching first. But just to give you a sense of what peer training is going to look like, what's coming up, also an opportunity to ask us for more things. I'm going to do a quick overview of that. So peer training is that portal B. That's the one that you all get to lead the full experience. And again, same survey situation is the same. So kind of that encouraging, but their access to things are limited by the surveys themselves. So they won't get access to you until they've taken the survey. You can remind them they can't sign students up until they take the post-training work survey. So after they've completed the workshops with you, that training is going to be 4 live Zooms is what we're asking you all to lead, which can take place kind of over the course of 2 or 3 weeks. Or maybe if you want to do one over a vacation week, if you think that would be good for educators in similar situations to you, 1 week could probably be fine as well. Some sort of intense training, we can talk about what that looks like. With asynchronous time, just like in your trainings, that educators complete checklist opportunity activities to support that. We're not saying you got to come up with your own trainings. We have it all outlined for you in that folder. But this is something I'd love for you to look at and tell us what you need more supports on. We have a session overview. So this walks through the 4 sessions, walks through kind of what we want educators to get out of YouthAstroNet training and YouthAstroNet. So what they should kind of come away with at the end of their workshop. What are some of the knowledges, essential elements and core principles of YouthAstroNet? And we've got this outlined by day and generally time, although feel free to, this is your training. This is customizable. These are kind of the key pieces. Feel free to move around as best for you. But these are the things we want to really see. We're making a little finessing on day 3 right now, so that it's not quite done. We've just kind of changed things around a little bit, but it's 4 days. The first 2 are hours, and the second 2 days are probably about 45-minute sessions. We realize we need a little bit more time to make sure we cover RGB completely so that educators will feel comfortable. And to go along with that, there is a PowerPoint for each one that also has built-in notes of what happens on each slide. I'll drop down to, so you'll see some notes and some guides for each slide. So these, when the training comes, we'll hope that you'll make a copy of it for yourself if you want to make additional notes and comments or edits that for your own. Don't copy the version in the Google folder. Don't edit the version in the Google folder, make a copy and edit how you see fit. But there's notes to help guide you through each of those pieces. And there are our recordings as well. So you can watch our recording, get a refresher of what to do in that training. There's also kind of in various states of completeness. As I said, this is not going out right today. We don't expect you to run a training tomorrow. Some of these quick guides. So there are parts of the training that we do live in the portal rather than through PowerPoint. So for instance, image processing, we will go to JS9 in the portal and do some image processing and sense making. And we have an overview of that. So those are some of the resources available to you. We want to know what else you need. I want to know what else you need so I can make additional resources for you before we ask you to do these live trainings. So go ahead and look at those and send us some emails of, hey, it'd be great if you had this or that. That would make my training a lot easier. So that's the the live sessions. You also would be expected to monitor your participants as you do the training. Kind of keep track of their forum posts, their images, their implementation assignments. Many educators don't complete their training in the live 2-week session. Things are going on, we all understand. So we'd ask for you to kind of keep eye on them for the next 2 weeks. But if they don't complete, whoever else is our coach for the month can help encourage that completion. Mary, did you look like you wanted to hop in on that?
No.
And again, let us know if anything's coming up. We're working on right now a way to kind of help organize and track all of this so that, as you complete a month, you can let us know kind of where your participants are, and that way we can keep an eye on whoever's finishing up and passing it along to the next peer coach who might be coming on. So we're working on some of that tracking form to make it easy. But again, let me know, look through that folder. We've shared the link. I've also added it to the peer leader section on the YouthAstroNet portal A and B maybe right now. And so you can access it there, look through all those materials and let us know what else you need. All right. Mary, you want to talk our...
Yeah, so this is with respect to, closely connected to a
You can say it, married to.
who's married to a doctor and was using the metaphor of medical residence in terms of the logistics of, if you're on for a month, you're keeping track of a group of educators, some of whom are in Portal C, some of whom are in Portal D, and maybe some of whom are in Portal B if you did a live, and then, you know, it's the end of your month, your shift. And this is what Erica was talking about with some kind of tracking spreadsheet that we're still working out, and you know, we'll continue to communicate with you about this. But the idea is at the beginning of your shift, you want to learn about the caseload. How many portals are you dealing with? Are there 10 educators in Portal C and 2 in Portal D? And then when you end, to make notes for the next person on the next shift. So that's kind of what this is all about. I don't know, Sue, if you wanted to say anything more about the things that, or Erica, or Adrian, about the things that kind of we don't want to fall through the cracks.
I guess
but I think
if there are any questions, if anyone's confused about your chart with the four cohorts. And
yeah, Erica, you haven't shown the portals yet, so I think that's probably next, what you were planning on doing.
I can. All right. So as a reminder, there's A, B, C, and D, and then 2 student portals now. The pineapple is the student portals that don't have STEM mentors. So they won't see that they don't have access to STEM mentors. Their portal will look different. We've also left up the legacy portal so that any other Youth Astronaut educators that come back to us don't pop in and know, how do I access things? They still have access and can communicate with us and tell us that they'd like to come back. So that won't go away quite yet. Eventually we'll sunset it, but it'll be a little while. So Portal A, pretty soon, you all won't have to pay any attention to Portal A. That is our team's responsibility. That is the Youth Astronaut team-led portal, so you will not have to even look in it. Portal B, oh, I'm not logged in. Is the one that will be when it's time for you to lead trainings, that this is where that will happen. You'll be the Youth Astronaut team that can communicate with them and leave announcements, introduce yourselves. The rest of it will look pretty similar to the existing Portal A, which was the one that you all used as peer leaders recently. That is that training. So all the resources will be the same. The surveys and the way they access it will be built right in. It's not yet on Portal B yet. We're working on that.
You might show how it is on Portal A, maybe.
In a second. All the resources are still here. Where you used to come to ask us for help, this is where you'll have to monitor as peer leaders to answer questions, right? So if they ask questions about the Youth Astronaut activity portal, keep an eye on these forums. And I will point out, this forum now has a peer leader section for you that is a copy of the peer leader section you've trained on. So that Google folder is right in here, and there's a discussion forum for you all to talk amongst yourselves and with us, to ask questions and things like that. So there is a space just that the educators won't see. to show you what the survey situation looks like, let me see if I can do this as a student, because they'll come in as students. All the activities when they first log in will be restricted. They can't see anything until they complete this first activity. So they have to take the pre-training survey to complete the activity. Once they click answer the questions, and I'll just quickly click through, hopefully they'll actually answer them. Once they've done that, they'll have the full access to the portal. So that is that part of, they won't be able to do things. But you can remind them that their new way of signing students up is this YouthAstroNet student account request. And you can see that that's restricted until they take the post-training survey. So once they're done doing the live training with you, completing that workshop checklist, then they can take that survey and get access to signing students up. They still get all the materials they need to learn how to sign students up. They just can't ask for them until they've completed that. We have not yet finessed our pre-recorded trainings for C and D. So that those two portals will look a little different once we've built in that curated set of smaller snippet trainings. And so those will be built right into the portal, but all the forums will look the same, places for you to answer questions and monitor questions. Other place to remind yourselves of where you would need to go to look for student engagement, I mean for teacher learners, is the image showcase. They're asked to post an image here. He's sending. So you can see we had some recent additions, and if you click on them, there's an opportunity for comments. And so recently Adrian and Mary commented on this image. You can do the same, positive encouragement, or kind of things that you note about the image are great things. So whatever you know about the image and what you can share. So we would want you to comment on these as teachers post when it's your turn. And then the last place, just as a reminder, the last really critical step of training, I should say, is in their implementation plans. There's a quick kind of overview on the first page that kind of highlights just the key parts. And then when you go in and click and look at the full piece, you can get the idea of what a teacher's implementation would look like. And you can see here, I've commented on Ashley's program here on opportunities for students to learn together and share, kind of share their, use their voice and choice within the program. So those kinds of things, that's what we want to see as far as engagement, supporting educators in the portal. Mary, was there something else you wanted me to highlight?
Yeah, no, I think that those key things, you note all our assignments that we call them assignment, that the educator learning about YouthAstroNet needs to complete that in the Moodle in order to get their certificate and to be able to move on to get kids on the student portal. So so those are why we're asking you to pay particular attention to that. And when we get a tracking system, you know, if something happens, like you're on in March and you've been told that there's some educators who haven't finished yet, they took their training and, you know, they started their self-paced in February, and you're on in March and they still haven't done their implementation plan because you've checked, you want to encourage them. Don't forget your implementation plan. You can do this. It's not it's, you know, we don't need a full blown out lesson plan. It's really just an outline of how you want to implement YouthAstroNet. You can do it. Once you do it, you can get students on. So that kind of thing.
All right. Are there questions for us? That was a lot.
Yes, I have a couple questions. So you are now brewing up to assign teams, right? Like 2 coaches per month. Is that coming up? And you're also trying to look at the responses to assign which months the teams are operational. Is that correct?
Yes, that form that I put at the beginning of the chat was to get a sense of your availability. It may be that like for September and October, we aren't quite sure. We're about to send out recruitment to lots of educators, hundreds of educators. But, you know, maybe only a few of them will respond. So we might not need 2 of you for September. We might only need 1. But that's correct, David. We will schedule peer leaders, and your first assignment is going to be more around the coaching, because we know it takes time to kind of feel comfortable for the training, to lead the training and to get that set. And it's also going to take us time to kind of pair you together to start scheduling that. And when we looked at your availability for the people who had answered the form, it looks like nobody's really available till December. So in September, October, November, we're definitely trying to get bin C and D, portal C and D, where people self-train, but then you're supporting them on the Moodle.
And then when you're shadowing one of the CFA team's trainings, is that something that's already pre-recorded, or is that something that we participate with you doing something?
Yeah. So if you, I mean, right now, we aren't anticipating doing another training for quite a while. We just finished one. We did one earlier this year that folks had the opportunity to shadow. So right now, shadowing would actually be viewing the recordings that are in the Moodle.
Okay.
That are in Educator Portal A.
Portal A.
For you. So that would be a way for you to get prepared to lead, is to look at what we did that's recorded in the Moodle. If there are so many educators that it's time to come to us in the bin again, and we implement a training in, say, January, we will invite all of you to shadow if you'd like, and particularly if you haven't implemented a training yet, but you've been a coach, but you know, you'd be welcome to shadow that as well.
Okay, but that material is available to view at
That's
this,
all
at
the
this
things
moment.
in that folder that
Mhm.
Erica just, yep.
Okay, cool.
And those
And
are
then-
the same slide sets we use.
Cool. And the last thing is, this program's been going on for at least almost 10 years, right?
Almost, because the YouthAstroNet 1.0 first started, it was a few years before we got the 2.0 funding. So the 1.0 starting.
It started the year I started. It's been 8 years as far as
8
on
years.
the online version of YouthAstroNet.
So, what's the status of the equipment out in Arizona? And 8 years of usage, is it constantly
that-
refurbished, or is it time to replace it, or what? Where are you on that? Because I know
Yeah.
that stuff doesn't last forever.
Yeah, it's lasted pretty long though, but it is constantly refurbished. I mean, essentially that, you know, one of Frank's roles is that telescopes come back to his lab and he repairs things, and, you know, sometimes replaces CCD chips and things like that. So we are actually the longest lived robotic telescope network in the world. We don't know about in the universe.
We can make that claim. Who's going to dispute it?
Yes. But we also are partnering right now, and you'll hear about this probably not till 2024. We are partnering with the Las Cumbres Observatory and hoping to embed in the portal an opportunity for students to use additional telescopes for their observations. And it'll be kind of seamless to kids. It'll go right in the portal.
Cool, thank you.
And
I
that's a plan for the future as well. Yeah.
I've got 3 questions. How will you recruit the educators?
Oh, we can use you to recruit as well. We would love for you to help us with recruitment. Since you said that, we have mailing lists that we have purchased that have lots of educators' names across the country from districts. You know, we're trying to actually target in schools districts that have fewer resources than, you know, who might not know they have that they could access robotic telescopes, right? And in districts that serve students from groups underrepresented in STEM generally or historically. We are contacting people through informal education listservs, library listservs, space science education listservs. We will be doing a very wide net recruitment for educators. And Erica has put a website that you can direct people to. We should make sure these guys have recruitment materials themselves for in your other lives as educators. We would love for you to disseminate this opportunity to as many educators as you would like. Yes.
Okay, good, because I have
So,
some people in mind. Yeah. Okay, so the number of educators that that each one of us ends up with will depend upon how many sign up. Is there any sort of a maximum? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, and this is something we're gonna have to experiment with, because we don't know the pace of responses vis-a-vis the pace of our recruiting.
Right.
I mean, in the past, we haven't really had a cohort of more than 20 teachers. Like that's been the maximum ever for doing a recruitment during any, particular month or something like that. But again, we are trying to scale up, and over the next 3 years, we want 500 teachers. So 500 teachers over 36 months. Well, we're okay, 20 teachers a month, but maybe we get 100 teachers in 1 month, and then we'll call all hands on deck. Hey, peer leaders, can you all do this?
Yeah.
And we'll,
Have you thought, I sent you the call for papers for the SEEK. I was wondering if you were thinking about presenting there, because there you have an audience of educators who are already into doing things with space.
Yeah, I appreciated you sending that, Melissa. Thank you for sending it. And we haven't kind of had a chance to talk about it. When was the deadline?
The 3rd, September 3rd.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. So,
the proposal isn't
Pretty short.
great. It's pretty
okay.
short.
Yeah.
And you'll have an audience who will not only sign up, but they'll bring a lot of people with them.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, thank you for pushing that. And I wonder. Yeah. So we'll take a closer look at it and try and get something in if we think we can do that travel or talk about how it fits in. Might be that we, are you going to that conference?
Oh yeah, I wouldn't miss it.
It might be that if we can't kind of figure out how to negotiate or the timing doesn't work, we might just give you recruitment materials to make sure and get to that conference.
Well, the other option is that I be there to do for the session, and then we video you in Zoom.
Oh.
They do that for a lot of the for some of the people who can't attend.
Mhm.
So just another option.
Ah,
I know that last year that they had people from the Vera Rubin Observatory come
yeah.
do some presentations that were pretty well received. So,
All right. Well, Melissa, we will definitely look at that and we'll get back to you by the end of the week with one plan or the other.
yeah, because I mean, I could help you write it up, but I don't mind being the point person in the room if you want to present.
Okay. All right.
Mhm,
Great.
mhm.
That was your first question, Jim. Recruiting.
Oh, yeah. Well, I already asked the first two. So the third question is, and this is a minor thing, I just wondered if that implementation plan was like a form or a survey or what sort of,
Yeah.
how did you get the information?
Yes, it is, let me share my screen again. The implementation plan is a form, it's like a Moodle form kind of situation. It's actually a database. I built all the questions into it. So there's this add entry button.
So when a teacher you're training goes there, they click on add entry.
There's some required questions and then some that are optional. We have like the key parts to YouthAstroNet are required. There's other things that teachers might want to think about, right? So it's name, implementation setting, grade levels, the short description is required. But then we have, some additional ones about what students will know or be able to do, ideas of what success that we would love to see. But if a teacher doesn't want to answer all of them, that's okay. They might pick a couple of them to answer. They do have to answer their questions around the YouthAstroNet essential elements. So how students are going to investigate their own questions using micro-observatory and how they're going to make sense of digital images. Those are required questions. The sequence of learning activities, again, that's kind of a bullet point request. It doesn't, I'm going to do modeling the universe and then kinesthetic telescope and then, image processing in that order. It doesn't have to be deep. Opportunities for teachers to add differentiation strategies. If they're already thinking about those, to share those. We would love to see it. But again, that's optional. And then the core principles, again, a critical part of our streamlined YouthAstroNet is embracing those core principles. So belonging and inclusion, opportunities for students to express their ideas and expand their ideas around who does science. So those we really want to see answers to. And then the capstone projects. And so once they fill that out, they can save. But we have also provided, so folks can do it before they fill it out if they want to, work offline a little bit. There's a template a PDF and a Word version of those template downloads so that folks can kind of type things up, not
And
on
then copy and paste the responses into that Moodle.
Okay, thank you.
And there's a place to ask questions of each other. Hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? So that's what that forum is for. Other questions, concerns, excitements?
I realized that my first students that I had use YouthAstroNet are now going to be college freshmen.
Oh, wow. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
And some of them, as 12 and 13-year-olds, were already very interested in astronomy. And I think a few of them became very interested. And so it'll be interesting to see what they really go off and study in college.
That will be
Awesome.
cool. You'll have to let us know.
Yeah,
Very
my
cool.
first students have already, they're in junior year of college, I think.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that picture from our gathering in Washington DC of the whole group there. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
brought back some memories. How many years ago was that?
that was
7? So it was or 8, like that was, I think,
2016,
was that my first year? I
2017,
think that was-
2017, I think it might have been.
Could have been, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was my second year here because we did. Yeah, actually, one of the young ladies that went asked me to be her friend on LinkedIn recently,
Wow.
which was pretty cool.
Wow, that's very cool. Okay. Well, I mean, we want to support you and backstop you, right? Again, as Erica mentioned earlier, in terms of communication, I think you always want, if you write to one of us, it'd be good to write to at least Adrian, Erica, and me. Because while you guys are all supporting the 500 educators over the next 3 years, we've asked Adrian to help us support you. So she's paying attention, so she can always get my attention or Erica's attention on things that need immediate. So it's really good if you email one of us, at the very least email 3 of us, those 3 being Erica, myself, and Adrian.
And then whoever sees it first and has brain capacity and will answer it first,
Right.
or figure out who needs to answer it if it's,
Yeah.
maybe if it's a question that actually should go to Frank or something,
Frank, or
Sue, or
Yeah.
what, we can help.
it's about the research, or yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
And please look through that folder, that Google folder, and tell me what else you all need. We are still making resources and supports for the training, especially like what else can we provide you that would make it easier for you to lead a training, and we will work on making those things happen.
All right. Well, we're excited to get into this next stage. We're excited to have you guys along for the ride. We know we'll learn from the educators that are newcomers, and we know we'll learn from having you guys involved in this part of it. So, definitely when things aren't working or you get confused about all these portals and what am I supposed to be doing, we need to be communicating about how to streamline this. It is a big research project. Sue, I think, will vouch for the fact that keeping the research methodology straight and clean so that you can really attribute the data from one group as being different from the data from another group is one of the hardest things, and making sure you get all the data you were planning on. So that's like this behind the scenes thing. It's a great program. We know it. We know that students enjoy it, and educators can do a lot with it and can bring their own selves to what they do. But we need to be able to get that data about under what conditions these great things happen. Awesome. All right. Have a great night. We will be in touch about scheduling for your first coaching assignment.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll be in
Thank
touch
you.
with you, Melissa, about this conference.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank
Erica,
you.
Adrian, take care.